Hello everyone, this is Jasmine from JazzDrawsArt and I am back with week 3 of Inktober 2021. Man, this challenge really starts to kick your butt after a while because it's hard to stay consistent in the quality of your drawings and also making sure you actually do it every week. And if you fall behind, man, it is so hard to catch back up. But luckily, I was able to catch up and get ahead of time so I could make this video for you guys and upload it. So day 1 of this prompt of this week was helmet. Now I know a lot of people probably did Iron Man's helmet. Honestly, you could have done a lot of superheroes' helmets, but I love Iron Man. I had thought about doing other kinds of helmets like an astronaut helmet. I've also seen a lot of people do that as well, but I went with what I felt fit me best, and I love comics and I love Iron Man. I love Marvel in general, and I thought why not do something that makes me happy and could turn out pretty cool. Now of course there's some flaws in it, like I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm especially not the best at like technical, more mechanical things, but I still enjoy drawing this and trying to give it some life. I decided against coloring this one because every time I do color I make myself sad because I don't have the right kind of colors, and yeah, markers aren't the best quality, that aren't my grayscale ones, so sticking with black and white, cool gray tone. I went in and just tried to kind of have that reflective look on each piece, trying to really give it some dimension, some depth, showing a bit of the way the metal curves and bends and the way the light reflects off of it. I really had to go back and let this one dry and go back and let this one dry just so I could layer on top with the same colors, but that way when you overlap it'll be darker, just because these markers are starting to dry out a bit. So I'm trying to use as much as I can to give it a full range of value. But here I am going in and just deepening my shadows and my spots that needed a little bit more of a push so you could see all the light where it really is bouncing off and where the curves and edges are. I went back in for highlights and details with my white gel pen and onto the next day. The prompt for this one was compass. I had thought about a few different ones, but the one that I landed on that I liked was Captain Jack Sparrow's compass that others speculate as being broken, but it points to wherever you want to go or to the thing you want to find. So I thought, I haven't done something like this yet, so it was a lot of fun to try and do this one. I tried to make it more about the actual compass itself rather than drawing Captain Jack holding it, because that would have taken me like 3 times the amount of time I spent drawing this compass. So I have drawn him before, just when I was younger, and it did take a long time. He has so many details. But anyway, getting back to the point, I really wanted to show this one had like intricate little details, and it had like all these little lines and all these markings and engravings and shadows and dips, and I just kept going in and going in, trying to keep this one like a simple kind of look to it, but obviously it has all these fine little details. The hardest part, I'm not gonna lie, is probably trying to keep certain parts looking neat and circular, and I noticed that the lid is a little bit smaller than the bottom, but that's okay. It's kind of a perspective from the photo reference I was doing anyway, so that piece that's further away would be a little smaller, and I just went on with it, added some shadow to each of it, and I tried to do marks making, so instead of just filling it in all with markers, I could make it look a little bit more different, have a little more texture and like pow kind of look to it with the eye of mark making. So I went in with some hatching and some little wavy lines, going in with different line weights, and then I added just a light bit of filling in for the grays. Yeah, moving on to the next day. This prompt was collision or collide, and you can interpret this many different ways. I love space, I love space, and I keep wanting to do pieces that include a lot of black, I noticed, and I'm so running out of black markers and ink, and I do need to get more, but tough times, you know, COVID, it's hard to get out to go get it. Anyway, I decided to do like a comet or an asteroid, a space rock, whatever, crashing towards Earth, or a planet that looks like Earth, and it didn't need to be fully fleshed out like every little detail in the rock, because I wanted this one to kind of just be like, boom, you obviously get what it's about. This one is collision. So I have one little spot where one already hit the Earth, you can see the little explosion there, and then I have this one that's rocketing itself towards the Earth. The hardest part was probably filling all this in and trying to get it as black as I could get it. I thought it would look really cool if I added some extra details and stars and everything with my white gel pen afterwards as well. So I really like this piece, actually. Not the best, but I like the idea behind it. Adding some sketching to my asteroid and moving on. Next day. I believe this prompt was, it's moon. There are so many pictures that I wanted to do. I couldn't choose. There were so many different ones, but realistically, in the time frame and with my supplies that I had, I thought I'd do one of the ones where photographers will take pictures of the moon as if it's a flower or stuff like that. And so I really liked that, and I took like a rose stem and everything and have it holding the moon so it looks like the flower. Now, I tried to use my markers again in like a watercolor effect, and it looked kind of okay, but it started to get really hard to blend, and then the paper started to get kind of mushy. I could have done this on watercolor paper, but I had already cut and started drawing on it, and I don't want to waste, so I just kept going through with it as much as I could, trying to give it kind of like that wavy texture that you get in certain styles. So I just went with it and kept the hands and the moon and stem of the flower all grayscale as I could, and kept the moon very pale so it looks more like it was glowing. I didn't add a glowing effect around it, but still I did my best. I tried to work around whatever mistakes I was making because I got pretty frustrated with certain parts of this one, but in the end I do like it a lot. Like the next day, sometimes when you look at your art later on, it looks better than when you looked at it when you were frustrated when you were making it. Alright, next day. I'm gonna say this is probably one of my more off pieces. Probably not one of my favorites, but I was really crunched for time again because I was behind. And so I did, this prompt was loop. And for the life of me, all that would come to my mind was Loop-de-Loop from SpongeBob. It's if you haven't watched it, I mean, I grew up watching SpongeBob. The episode is about how SpongeBob's shoes come untied, but he can't remember how to tie them, and the song is basically once he remembers how to tie them, it's like do the loop-de-loop and pull and your shoes are looking cool, and I just never forgot that. We actually have some SpongeBob like tracks and music because of me and my brothers loving it so much. So I could not think of anything else other than to draw a song, that specific song, playing on a loop, because I did already do like a SpongeBob one, so I tried to keep this a little bit different and show the track playing. This prompt was Sprout, and of course you could have drawn like a bean sprout or anything like that. I thought it was really a cute idea to draw Wally holding the little plant they had because it's a little sprout out of the boot. I did get his proportions off, and I was gonna quit and just draw the boot with the plant in it instead, but I really wanted Wally in it because he was the reason I wanted to do this for this prompt. And so I kind of just kept going back and tweaking it, and I noticed that I made his head too big for his body. His body should be bigger. Like, there's a lot of things about this. Again, mechanical wise, I'm not the best, but you still get the gist, you still know who it is, and I still think it's pretty cute actually. So I enjoyed this piece. I have drawn Wally a few times, and I even drew him for my brother and my sister-in-law for their wedding as a little like Disney couple painting gift for them. I thought it was cute. It's Wally and Eve. So I just went ahead and tried to add details, but things started to get really wonky because my wrist was really killing me. And so I just kept going on, pushing through, trying to get all of it that I could. The hardest part, I would say, is definitely, of course, the proportioning, but also trying to get his eyes to have that expressive look in them. The way that the Pixar and Disney animators did Wally is incredible, and it's one of my favorite ones they've done. I think it's like just how you can make things that aren't human seem human is, I love it. Wally is absolutely adorable and I love him. So I really just tried to keep going and adding more depth and shading and lines and outlines and filling things in. And then I went in with the grays. I know that his body is yellow, but again, I don't have the right shade of yellow and I'm kind of scared to use any of my colored markers at this point, other than for the plant. I color it green, that's not hard. But I filled him in with gray, and maybe some other time when I go back to this piece, I might color it digitally and he'll look a bit more the way Wally does. But I tried to do his shines and add all his shadows and all his little trinket pieces and all his little details, and added some details to the boots, the lenses on his eyes, and the plant, and I just kept going back and tweaking a little bit, this and that, till I was happy with it. Alright, final piece. This piece is for the fuzzy. I couldn't think of anything other than like teddy bears and stuff, and I thought for, you know, Halloween's coming up, why not draw a black cat? Again, I keep choosing things that are black because black is easier to draw with. Like, it's easier to think about and get all your lines down and everything and fill it in because it looks clean. It's just black against white. But you also got to give it some depth, and I am also running out of black. So here you can see me scribbling in where some of the highlights are, and then going in with the darkest shade of gray. It's kind of like a bluey, cool gray. And I go in with that instead of black, so that way when I put black on top that's drying out, it kind of gives it more like a dry brushing kind of look to it, and also it can sit on top and be darker so you can't see through it as much with this as a dark color behind it. So I did that, and then I went over with a flat gray so I could fill in some of the white gaps that I had, and then here I am trying to go in with the dry black markers I have to kind of fill it in, and it still wasn't quite what I wanted, so I thought, why not give it a lighter gray background. And finally I went in with one of my brush tip pens and did some detailing, which was more matte black than the rest of it, thank goodness. And I added some white highlights, and there we go, some whiskers, and here's the final piece. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Make sure to like this video and to subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and I hope to see you guys in the next video for the finale. Alright, see you.